Hello chess friends and welcome to another video on the ABC Chess Analysis channel. Here we have a game between the Grandmasters Vladimir Fedoseev and Anish Giri. They played this game in the round 10 of the Tata Steel Masters 2019. So they play Sicilian and it goes with e4, c5, knight c3, so that was the close Sicilian, d6 and knight g1 to e2, knight f6, g3 and g6, both of them wants to make fianchetto bishop, so bishop to g2 and knight c6, d3 and bishop to g7. Here we have two fianchettos, and after that h3 was played, castle, bishop to e3 and the rook to b8. Idea of the rook to b8 move is to support the pawn on b7 to go on b5 square. So f4 and knight to e8, a4, knight to d4 and a castle. So as we can see here, White created a good pawn structure. He wants to push them and attack on the king side, and the idea of the black is to push pawns on the queen side and try to use the diagonal a1, h8 for his bishop on g7 and to attack using the b file. So knight c7 was played and g4. White continued with his idea to push pawns, and a6 preparing b5. So rook to b1 was played, and bishop to d7, knight to g3, prepare for f5, and b5, played by black. So a takes b5, a takes back, and knight from c3 goes to e2, offer knights for trade, so b4, and f5 after that. So e6, and after e6, we can see that on the f5 square is a lot of pressure by both sides. So black is attacking four times, and that's already defend 4 times with the knight, 2 pawns and the rook. So knight takes d4 was played, and c takes d4, bishop to f4. One very interesting provoking move. He could play also bishop to d2, but he played bishop to f4 with some reason. He wants to provoke move e5 that already happened in the game, and after that bishop goes back to d2. So it looks like he spent the tempo, but after that we can see that the position is completely locked in the center, so he can continue his attack on the king side. After that bishop f6 was played, and king to h2, b3 wants to attack the pawn structure. After that, rook to a1. Rook goes back to a1 because there is nothing to do on the b1 square, because b file is not good for him. So he put the rook on a1 and on a file because it's very good to keep the rook on open file. Bishop to b5, preparing for some attack on the pawn on d3, which looks like a good target. So rook to a3, and after that b takes c2, queen takes c2, and it's time for knight from c7 to come in the game. So he recognized that the best position for the knight from c7 is on c5 square, and the only way to transpose the knight on c5 square is to play knight to a6, and after that knight to c5. So he played knight a6, and after that White recognized what his plan, so he goes with the b4 and bishop to b5, offer bishop for trade, and rook to f3, rook to b6, and queen to a2. Make more pressure on the a file, and also try to make some danger attack on the f7 square. So bishop to f4 was played, and after that bishop takes f4, e takes f4, and knight to e2. Threat to take 2 pawns, this one on d4 and this one on f4 square. So knight takes b4, attacks the queen and also attacks the pawn on d3. So queen to d3 was played, and after that it's time for d5, sacrificing the piece here. So knight to f4 is played, knight takes d3. One more good sacrifice here on the d3 square. So knight takes d5, and knight to d6 gives the check to king and attack the knight and attack the rook on a3 square. So rook to g3, and after that queen takes the rook on a3, knight takes the rook, and queen goes back to d6 because she wants to attack the knight on b6 and the rook on g3 square. So knight goes back to d5 and bishop to c4, f6, threat to give a mate with the queen h6 and queen to g7. So bishop takes g5 and queen takes d3. Bishop goes back to e6 square. King to g1 was played, and that's a good moment to move the king because this rook is only one defense with the queen, so it's very easy to attack the queen like here. So bishop to c4 attacks the queen. Queen is unable to take it because the rook is hanging, so queen goes to f3 and queen opened with that move. Queen opened the d file for a pawn on d4, so it's a good moment to push pawn on d3. And after that e5 was played, queen takes e5 because that was a free pawn. So queen goes to e3, and after move rook to e8, white resigned because there is no way to stop the pawn to go on the d2. So here's the big pressure on the queen on e3, so she needs to make the decision what to do. Take the queen or go somewhere. So if queen goes somewhere, like I don't know, like if he moves the queen on a d2 square, then this rook is hanging. So if try with the queen to f2, d2 is coming, so it's not easy. So if the queen takes on e5, then rook takes e5, and it's not possible to stop the pawn. So for example, bishop to f3, then d2, and idea is to give a check with the rook and promote on f1. So move the rook and promote. So if tried king f2, then rook e1, and after rook g1, trade the rooks on g1 square, and after that bishop to b3, and the queen goes to d1 to be promoted. So that was one interesting game where black recognized his strong d pawn, and he concentrate his forces using the e file and the d file just to promote the queen on d1 square. So I hope you enjoyed, and well, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.